Fellow Earth travelers. My name is Ingrid Lorna, and today we're going to talk about the 7 ugly truths of computers. I'm going to do this in 2 segments because it's kind of long, so this is segment 1. The fact is that without computers, the mega technological age we are living in would simply just not be happening. Computers are basic to every technological innovation, whether it's communications, the military, genetics, transportation, automation, or multinational corporate activity. Because of this monoculture of homogenization, computers have been celebrated more than any other technology since electricity. The situation is ludicrous, and it has become even more ludicrous. It's reached a whole new level of ludicrosity, if that's a word. As we are seeing, it's sped up profound changes in our human race, and yet there's never been any meaningful debate about computers and the consequences. So, as usual, only the money beneficiaries are permitted to define the parameters of our understanding. The major question to ask about computers is not how they serve me or you as individuals or our small businesses. We just can't take that small of a view. It's too simple. We must look at the totality of how computers affect society and all of life on Earth. We need to dredge up every single piece of the impact and put it all together into one picture before we can judge the computer as either beneficial or harmful. So let's start with some ugly truths about computers. There are 7 of them. The first one would be pollution and health. Computer manufacturing employs gallons of acids and solutions that are eventually disposed of at toxic dumps. And in communities where computers are manufactured, serious health problems have been associated with them. Not to mention, that's just one piece of it. So not to mention let's add, what about the making of these toxic acids and solvents? And what about the components of the computer? Where do they come from? How are they mined? How are they made? What kind of toxins are involved in those and health problems? At one time in Silicon Valley, high concentrations of trichloroethylene, a carcinogenic solvent, had seeped into the drinking water. From research done by people, we know that the computer industry has an incidence of occupational illness more than 3 times that of the average manufacturing industry. And I know without a doubt the developers knew about these diseases that could be coded and made money off of before they even started developing or started hiring people to develop the computers. Just like a new 110 new diseases were coded into existence to go along with this latest injection that we've been being pressured to get. When we started to complain as a human population about the sicknesses and stuff like this with computers, they just moved it beyond our tiny little narrow scope of vision, which doesn't take much to get beyond this tiny little scope we live in. They moved up to Southeast Asia, to Mexico, to Korea, wherever they figure workers are less educated and more willing to work for less money. So the idea that computers are cleaner than any other industrial product is simply inaccurate and incomplete. Number 2, employment. At the 1940s World Fair, American industry promised that computers and automation would eliminate toil and so free us to pursue higher goals. Well, what higher goals? And has any toil been eliminated? In the 1980s, industry said computers would open new careers and ease the burden of office workers. Well, in reality, I think we know that those are just advertising pitches. And what automation and computerization do is liberate you and I to stand in unemployment lines. So working with computers is the coal mining of the 90s and the 2000s. And the last point we'll address today is number 3, quantification and conceptual change. In July 1984, the New Age Journal featured a story called The Computerized Forest. The author of the story lamented that the conceptual changes in the U.S. Forest Service workers, who have since been doing their job mainly by computer, have separated them totally from the forest. How did this happen? Well, the entire forest system was divided into management units containing habitat capacity models and maximum sustainable yield computations, all of which reduced the needs, supposedly, of the various species in the forest and the workers' understanding of them to quantified formulas. The living ecosystem was transformed into a dead hologram of computerized bytes. So the Flathead Forest in Montana had a planned output of 200 grizzly bears. Really? So the computer can figure out how often a bear is going to give birth and if there is going to be successful, etc., etc. Product without consumption is the hallmark of computers. We understand only while we're going through the motions at the computer, and we can't take it into the living world because the two don't mesh. We'll address one more. Number 4, surveillance. Need I say more? The greatest danger of computers is the level of surveillance made possible. And, what's the word? I can't think of it now. Shutting us up on social media. That being said, to keep this short and uploadable, my name is Ingrid Lorna. I've been talking about the 7 ugly truths of computers, and we'll pick up with number 5, 6, and 7 in the next segment.